Today is October the 25th, 2016. My name is Tanya Finchum, and along with me is Dr. Charles Abramson. We're with Oklahoma State University, and today we're in the Edmund Lowe Library to talk with Trish Houston Prawl. And this is part of our Phi Beta Kappa series, so thank you for coming today.
Thank you.
Let's begin with learning when and where you were born.
June 26, 1949, in Arkansas City, Kansas.
Well, how did you come to be in Oklahoma?
My parents are from Oklahoma. They just happened to be north when I was born.
Well, then where did you grow up?
Scheidler, Oklahoma, in Osage County.
And what did your parents do for a living?
Oil. My dad was in the oil business.
What did he do for
Fields. I had a lot of things, just a lot of various and sundry things. He spent a lot of time overseas.
Okay. Do you have brothers and sisters?
Yes, 2 sisters and a brother.
And where are you in the mix?
I'm the second one. Second one.
Okay, and then let's talk about elementary school. Where did you go?
Scheidler, Oklahoma. I went there all 12 years.
One building or 2 buildings? Or 3?
Actually, it was 2 buildings. High school was in a separate building.
I'm assuming that's a small town.
It is a very small town. Yeah.
What was the makeup?
Osage Indians and a lot of oil field workers.
How many were in your class?
50.
Given your
50. Yeah, that was large. Now I think they're down to like 10 or 15. It's really gone downhill.
So you didn't move around much with him being he would just go and come back?
He would go and come back, right. They were married 10 years before they had children, so they lived in South America a long time before they decided to have kids.
And then how did they end up in Osage County?
My grandfather came there, my dad's father came there to open the oil fields for Phillips Petroleum, and my mother's dad came there, and he had the water rights in our area. So they both came there because of the oil.
And came from where?
Missouri, yeah.
Okay.
And my dad's family from Michigan.
And then your parents were both born out of... No, I guess they were born in Oklahoma then.
Right, their parents came. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, what was your favorite subject in high school?
Math.
Yeah. Go figure, right?
I had a terrific math teacher. She was wonderful. She was an ex-Marine.
Wow.
Ex-Marine, whatever the female part of that was. Back in the day. She was a very unusual lady, really a super smart lady.
Well, in high school, did you participate in other things like
sports? And yeah, I was valedictorian and all those good things, and I did everything. Did everything you could do in a small town. It was fun. That's the great thing about being from a small town. Everybody gets to do everything.
Played basketball?
Played basketball. But we didn't have a lot of sports. We had basketball and softball for girls, and I think that was it. And then you had debate, and a few other things like that. But yeah, we did everything you could do.
Well, describe the house you grew up in.
Oh, it was back in the day when the oil fields were opened up, they used to have what they call company houses. And they would move, they were just, I'd say they're more like Sears and Roebuck houses. I guess that's how you say it. Kind of shotgun houses, 2 bedrooms, a back porch. And that was just a common house. They just moved them. They moved them around various places, and we grew up in one of those.
Okay. Well, how did you decide to come to OSU?
My uncle got his master's here when he got out of World War II, and he got his master's here. And I used to come and spend a lot of time with my Uncle Charlie, and he's electrical engineer with Conoco. So I would come up and spend time with him, and he was determined someone in the family was going to graduate from OSU. And then I got a lot of scholarships, and one of them was from the Oklahoma Restaurant Association, and it was to Oklahoma State University, and the Heinz Food Corporation gave me the largest scholarship that was awarded that year. It was $5,000 to OSU. So it was the only time they'd ever awarded it to a female. So that was quite a thing. It was fun, and I really wanted to come to OSU, although I was ill when I first came up here. It was the biggest place I'd ever been. It was, I was sick when I first came.
And what year would that have been?
Oh, that would have been 67.
67. Well, where did you live on campus?
Oh, back then the honors dorm was housed at Wentz, the old Wentz. which is gone now, isn't it? Isn't the old Wentz dorm been torn down?
I think so.
I think so too. Yeah, but that back in the day, that's where they had 2 or 3 floors reserved for honors students, and that was where I was too.
And would you go back and forth home, or would you stay on
No,
campus?
I stayed here. I didn't, we didn't have, back in that day, you didn't have a lot of money. We didn't do a lot of running around, and I drove an old VW, and it was, I don't know how it even got around. It mainly ran on air, I think. but so we stayed and studied and didn't go back and forth a lot.
Well, being an honor student coming in, you already had good study skills, I would assume.
Yeah, but no one's prepared for college when you come from a small town, And I'd always made straight A's, and it scared me to death that I wasn't going to make straight A's. And so I didn't weigh much when I came to school. I weighed about 100 pounds when I came to school, and I think that when I went home at Christmas, I weighed about 90. I lost a lot of weight, just, running around all over campus, bicycling everywhere, and I studied all the time. Yeah. Then I figured out that really wasn't that necessary. Just calm down. You're not going to flunk out.
Well, had your older sibling not chosen to come?
She didn't come here.
Did come here.
She went to Rangeley, Colorado. Yeah.
Well, so you weren't the first in your family to go to college, just
No.
the first one to come to OSU.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And were you involved with student activities and things on campus?
Yeah. Just the dorms. I didn't join a sorority. I was asked to join a sorority, and my folks couldn't have afforded it at that time. My dad had been in a terrible oil field accident, and I didn't even talk to him about it. But I didn't want that to even come up. So, the oil business was very dangerous back in that time, and he had a tripod of pipe collapse on him and crushed his face and his back, broke his back. It was terrible. So yeah, I was lucky to be in school. My Uncle Charlie helped with all that.
Well, do you remember the first time you ever stepped foot on campus?
Yes, I came up here for interviews. Yeah, my uncle and dad brought me up for interviews with the Oklahoma Restaurant Association. Well, I was a little kid the first time because I'd come to visit Uncle Charlie. But I mean, as an older person, yeah.
And were you planning to go into the restaurant business?
I had at one time. I was the only female enrolled in hotel and restaurant at the time. And, there was huge job demand. And then one summer I spent the summer supervising 50 waitresses. And I decided that wasn't for me. It was like days of our lives gone crazy. I thought, I can't spend my life like this. I won't make it very long. So I switched major. But Heinz Food, the family, the lady who was in charge of the scholarship, gave me that scholarship all the way through school, even when I switched majors. Because I was the only female that ever received it, and she was so proud of me for doing this that she got the family to let me have it the whole time, which was awesome.
Did you have to keep your grades up in order to keep getting it?
I did have good grades, but I don't know. I don't know if that was a requirement or not. I don't know. Probably. I don't know.
Were there? So you were the only female when you switched to what?
Accounting.
Were
I
you-
lived in Germany for several years, and I worked for a German CPA over there. And when I came home, I decided I had to make some money, so I went to this library and sorted out what are jobs that are available and where do you make some money. And back then, accounting, you made more as a female than you did in engineering, because my choice was to go into engineering or accounting. And I needed to make some money, so I went into accounting. Yeah, that was the decision process.
Well, it worked.
Yeah, I had to make some money. I knew that.
Were you the only female in that one too?
When I first started, there were only 2 or 3 of us that were girls. Then by the time we graduated, there were a few more, but there weren't many females back then. Now it's more than 50% of the class is female.
Wow, what a difference.
Yeah, huge difference. Same thing's going on in engineering, though. Same demographic. There were even fewer women in engineering.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think I recall reading that you also were a Wentz.
I was a Wentz scholar
Yeah.
back in the day, yeah.
And what did that entail?
Well, way back, we used to use Wentz money for,
Work study.
Work
study.
Work study, right. I couldn't think of the word for work study. And, we'd help professors or regents professors or whatever, grade papers or, do whatever. And we got Wentz money for that. So it was based on your grades and But you got to know a lot of professors doing that, so that was nice.
So besides that type of job work, you didn't have another?
Oh, yes, I did. I worked at student union in the old student union when the cafeteria was in the student union under Chris Tinker way back in the day when we were the only place in town to have Sunday lunch, Sunday dinner after church, and everyone would show up at the student union and eat chicken dinner, and it really was delicious. But yes, I worked for Chris for a long time. That used to be the only game in town. There were no restaurants. When you came here, do you remember that?
That was 93.
Okay, well, you came long after. We had a few more things going on. But when I came to school here, about the only decent restaurant in town was the student union. And it was in the student union. It wasn't, it was. So we had worked a lot of hours, and we used to do banquets and all kinds of things.
I just assumed incorrectly that since you had all these scholarship money, that you didn't have to do the other.
No, you never. It just seems like you don't ever have enough money. That's why I'm so interested in scholarships. I don't care how much scholarship money you have. It seems like you just don't have enough to, if you're going to drive home and pay for housing and do everything. Books. There's always something. Books used to be not nearly as expensive as they are now, but they were still expensive. So.
And dorm room.
It's all, you get money for some things and not for other, and you just never have enough.
So the break in your time was what, maybe 2 years in after your sophomore year?
Yeah, I married and subsequently divorced, and we went to Germany for a couple of years.
So that was during the Vietnam era?
Right.
Had campus changed much from the time
because all the Vietnam vets were, I used to do a lot of playing cards with Vietnam vets on the fourth floor of student union, and and working because my husband was an officer, and so I did a lot of stuff. We raised money for orphanages in Vietnam, and we did a lot of things.
Well, I would think that the campus environment had changed in those 2 years too.
It had, and before we didn't have marijuana. I never smelled marijuana anywhere. Well, after Vietnam, you did everywhere. So it was like that was a huge change, especially for Oklahoma State. We thought streaking was a big thing. It did change quite a bit, but it was, still it was great.
So you were on campus when that was going on too?
Oh, yeah.
The streaking?
Oh, yeah. Uh-huh. One of my best friend's brother was one of the streakers. It was like, oh, my gosh. It's like, oh, heavens, what has happened here? We got exercise about a lot of things that you wouldn't even blink at now.
Well, would you attend sporting events?
Oh, yes. We had a wonderful wrestling team, which was so interesting. And I knew nothing about wrestling, but I thought they were awesome, so that was fun. And basketball, football. But, that was in the old stadium, back when we had, both ends were open, and we had pretty much wooden bleachers. The student section was always full, but it was icy cold, and not anything like we have now. It was still fun. It was a lot of fun.
And would the women wear dresses to the game?
I don't remember.
At that point?
I remember it was cold. A lot of those games were because we didn't have any protection, and so we just put everything we had on, to go to a football game in the winter. That's the ones that stick out in my mind the most are the winter, not the hot ones in the first of the season or anything. And I don't remember people getting particularly dressed up for them.
Well, were jeans popular before or after? I mean, after, I would assume.
Well, yeah, they were getting popular because it was cold when you had to walk all the way across campus, and But I bicycled a lot. But I remember wearing pants, not so much jeans. I'd wear jeans when I went home.
Well, and you said you came to the library to do a little research to determine
study.
majors, so you came other times too.
Yeah, I studied a lot at the library.
Did you have a favorite spot?
Yeah, it was on the third floor. Is that where the study kiosk are?
They're all over now.
Yeah. Back then, I would go to the third floor, and there was a really great little niche that nobody else ever seemed to use because I'd leave stuff there, and it'd still be there the next day. It was like it was my place. So
if you came in 67, started in 67, when did you graduate?
let's see, I took a 2-year break, so let's see, 70.
72, somewhere through
Probably 72 or 3. I can't remember now.
there. And your degree was in accounting?
Right, Bachelor's of Arts in Accounting.
And then do you remember graduation day?
No,
No?
I didn't get to attend. I graduated mid-semester, and I was working for Pete Marwick. And so I didn't get to attend. I had something else I had to get done for the office, and so, yeah, I didn't go to graduation day.
Do you mind telling what your GPA was when you finished?
It was 3.6 or 7, something like that.
Up there.
Yeah.
So if there had been a Phi Beta Kappa on campus at that point, you may have qualified?
I don't know
Right.
if I would have or not, but I wish we'd had it back then. We've had so many great students who deserve to belong to Phi Beta Kappa. And, for whatever reason, I don't know why we're so late in getting it. Kansas State, has just done an awesome job with their program. So many of the programs have been great, but our students are just as good. So it's always been a kind of a mystery why we've been so retarded in getting a Phi Beta Kappa chapter.
Well, they kept trying, though.
I know.
3 or 4 times it took.
It is political. Some of that's political, but still, I'm certainly glad we have it now because our students deserve that opportunity.
Well, once you graduated from high school, just briefly take us through your...
My checkered career.
Uh-huh.
Oh, when I went through high school, then
No, through college.
College. Well, I went to work for Pete Marwick, and I was accepted into NYU Law School, and so they took me directly into the tax department at Pete. My husband was a professor. My soon-to-be husband was a professor here, and he was my advisor, and we hadn't dated or anything like that when I was in school. When I got out of school and I was working for Pete, I was asked to be a hostess at the annual opera ball. And I didn't know anyone who liked opera except Bill Houston. And I loved opera. That's one reason we were, such good friends. And so I called him and I said, Professor Houston, you're going to think this is crazy, but I've been asked to do this, and would you consider hosting it with me? And so he did, and he said, by the way, I'd love to take you out to dinner. So we went to dinner, and that was wonderful. And during dinner, I could hardly speak. I couldn't call him Dr. Houston, and I couldn't call him anything else. Couldn't call him Bill, so it was awful. And so I thought I'll never hear from him again. So he called me about 3 or 4 weeks later, and he said, okay, if you can say my name and eat your dinner. So it was great. We were very happily married for 33 years.
Oh.
Yeah. So I didn't go to NYU. That's what really is. So we've been dating a while. I was going to go to NYU, and he decided, no, we need to get married. You don't need to go to NYU. So it was, anyway, it all worked out. And then I went to work for Stillwater National Bank because when I left Pete Marwick and came over here to interview for jobs, I was told by a local CPA firm that women would never make it in this business. Oh, dear. And so Stillwater National Bank hired me, Bob McCormick, and I went to work for the bank, set up their internal audit department, and then about 18 months later started our CPA firm, and it was very quickly the largest CPA firm in town. So.
And when you saw him again, what did you say?
Oh, I didn't. He always just would shake his head like, what was I thinking? I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking.
He had to eat those words.
Yeah, he is now deceased, so which is sad, but yeah. No, that was silly. That was the thinking of the day. I don't know why he thought that. That was, he lived in a college town. He could see what was going on, but I don't know.
Has it been a struggle being a woman in the CPA field?
But I've always been the boss, so that's really, when you're the boss, it's a whole different world than if you're not. And I've never had a problem. I was second female president of the Stillwater Chamber of Commerce here. Jean Gillum was the first one. She's HR, not hotel and restaurant, interior design graduate from Oklahoma State. If you haven't interviewed her, she's got a kind of an interesting
We
history.
should have.
Yeah, she's really interesting, done a lot of interesting things. But, and June was a mentor. You know, she really helped me do some things. And so I've never had a problem. It's just if you're willing to work hard, people, I've not had any, if you're willing to work hard and you actually know your job and you really try to be the best at what you're doing as a profession, you don't really have a problem. I did have a client once, a new client, ask what we were going to charge, and we told him the rates, and he said, "You're charging more than most men charge." And my husband came out, and he was walking down the hall, and he laughed, and he said, "Yeah, and she's worth it, and for you, it just went up." It was funny. He was laughing. He said, "Oh, gosh, you know, when are people going to get over this?" But when he was with Arthur Anderson, there were no females on staff. So it was fairly new, you know, to have women in accounting.
Well, did you pass the test the first try?
No. I could not pass business law. I passed, you know, back in that day, we always, the accounting department was wonderful. And so I passed all 3 parts. I passed 3 of the 4, no problem. I could not pass business law. And I passed it on the 3rd try. And so I'd studied and thought, well, and I took the test, and I thought, oh man, I way overstudied. I got exactly the passing grade. Thank goodness I studied as much as I did. Yeah, I don't know why I had a mental thing with business law, I don't know. But I just couldn't pass it. So, it's crazy. It's not one of the harder parts of the exam. The hard parts I passed.
That was it. It's too easy for you.
I don't know, but I did have a tough time with it. Yeah, I'm always laughing. The good thing about taking the CPA exam, you don't ever have to take it again. You know, now I tell you, there's so many pronouncements and so many. We don't do any auditing at my firm. We do tax and wealth management. I just don't know how you can keep track of all the disciplines that are involved. You know, just with every field of accounting, unless you're a large firm and have specialists in every area.
Well, it sounds like once you came to Stillwater, you stayed in Stillwater.
Yes, I've been here a long time. Yes, indeed. I'm always surprised when I meet somebody I don't know. You know, it's like, I should know you. That's a great thing about a college town. There's always great professors moving in and out, and, you know, a lot of great people here.
Well, being married to a professor, you had that connection too, I guess. So I usually ask them, what was your connection to campus and why you started staying involved with it so long? So, I mean, it's partly your husband, I'm sure.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Bill was very active on campus, and in fact, he's the one who pointed out to me that the Wentz money in his opinion, wasn't being well spent on work study, that we could be doing more for students. And, you know, he said, you know, when you were my assistant, or when you were, you know, Dr. Anderson's assistant, he said, what'd you do? He said, I had to make work for you. It's not like, you know, and that was true for a lot of the kids, a lot of them. So we decided that we needed to do something that would really benefit the students. When I became the administrator, I was the auditor of Lou Wentz, the Lou Wentz Foundation, for a long time, and would report to the board. And they asked me one day if there was anything I thought we could do better, and I said, yeah, I do. I think there's quite a few things we could do better. First of all, we used to make student loans, and the federal government had decided to get into student loan business, and so they were very good at it. We were the only people, we were in the state of Oklahoma, were making student loans with Mr. Wentz when we just started using that money, so we needed it at Oklahoma State. But then when that federal law passed, we weren't needed to be making student loans, and it wasn't our primary business, and we weren't very good at collections. I mean, you know, we just weren't. Mm-hmm. And so I suggested to him that we sell the student loan package and look at other ways to help students. The great thing about Mr. Wentz's document, it's laughable. It's only 1 page long. We had a president then that was awesome, and he knew that things change and events change, and we need to be flexible. And so he and Mr. Wentz worked with OSU and OU to develop a foundation. Now, back in that day, we had no, OSU Foundation didn't exist. And there was no scholarship money at OSU. And he just saw all these vets coming home from World War II, and they needed, World War I and II and Korea, and they needed a way to go to school. And so he started out, he started out with 50,000 or 25,000 to each institution. I can't remember the amount. It wasn't much. And then they kept working on how this was going to be used. And nobody really found the whole idea of an endowment and foundation was a fairly new idea. So he was, but our document is written so that it's very flexible. We can change it. I've been to court twice to change it. If something we can do better to benefit students, then we've had great flexibility in getting that done. OU's document's not written that way. He worked with the president of each university to write that document the way it would best serve the university, and ours is very, very flexible.
Wow. And that would have been in the...
Let's see, he died in 49. I've got all that written down. When did he first do that? I think he first did this in... See, he died in 49. We didn't get oil money until 59. He was dead 10 years before we struck oil on these unproven mineral rights. And we'd been in existence for probably 20 years before that. I can't remember exactly when. It's not coming to me. But it was in the 20s or 30s. Maybe. It was early. He sold out his oil properties and went into treasuries right before the Great Depression. And during the Great Depression is when he tried to get all this done. So maybe the 30s.
And I read he wasn't married, didn't have children.
He never had children. He does have nephews, and they benefited greatly from Mr. Wentz's largesse.
Well, had you met him before?
No, he died the year I was born.
Okay.
But my grandfather knew him. Yeah.
Okay, I wonder what the connection
Well, because the oil business. And Granddad used to go over and walk on the porch with Mr. Wentz. And there in the oil business, there's always people who need money. And Mr. Wentz had a huge soft spot for kids. He just loved children. He didn't want them to suffer. He grew up a very poor guy, very poor. And so my granddad would deliver a list of him of men that needed help. Their kids needed shoes or something was going on. Somebody was hurt. And Mr. Wentz would count out the money and give it to my grandfather, and he'd deliver it to all these people. And Mr. Wentz said that he never lost a dime loaning money to all those men and their families. They all paid him back. And that's why when we went into the student loan business, we felt like that was going to work that way too. And it probably would have. We just weren't very good at collecting the money. We weren't a bank. We weren't set up to do it.
Sure. So when it switched, was it very successful quickly? I mean, when it switched over from being work-study to...
It was like pulling teeth to get it. It was hard on administration. It was, because we'd had all that student help. It was hard. But the program itself was very successful right away, and it really started getting a lot of benefits for Oklahoma State pretty quickly. The first year, we really had a struggle with, it took a lot of the professors to help us get it going. Nobody really knew exactly what we were doing. It has to be a student-proposed research project. And that's only about $190,000 of our we give away $750,000 a year, $750,000. And the research program is about $190,000 of that. And so, it took us a while, but now it's, we've got really qualified applicants, and it really helps them with graduate school. It's paid off a lot of dividends for Oklahoma State. And we now have the NIBLAC, awards, and some other awards that are direct offshoot of Wentz. It was successful. So now they know how to do it. And now the math department, I understand, starting the same type of program. So I'm hoping that, we'll have a lot of research programs that are similar.
Well, his name was on the building, you said, and then it was on this, and then now it's on, you started a professorship?
Yes.
That has part of his name in it.
Yeah.
Partly
it's the English department.
And it's called?
The Wentz, it was from Bill's, my husband's undergraduate degree is in English. So when I was going to give something to OSU in honor of him, he truly believed that if you had a great, education in English, you were set. And for a lot of things. And so, so Mr. Wentz and Bill's who we on named for that. And my dad, Truax. My mom and dad were the Houston Wins Truax chair.
Chair. And that in the Dr. Gill's interview, you mentioned that Hargis had promised you a chair in English to contribute to the Phi Beta Kappa
Yeah, yeah,
procedure part, and it came
yeah,
to pass. So
yeah. And that's one of the reasons I went ahead and did it. You know, just to get it. We were going to do it anyway, my husband Jake and I, but we decided to move it up and get it done so it'd help with our Phi Beta Kappa.
And that was when Boone was matching.
Yes,
So
praise
that-
the Lord for that. Yes,
that helped too.
yeah. And then, just a minute. One of our great alums gave $25,000 to help get us up over the hump. Oh, he's given so much to OSU. That's terrible. I can't think of his name.
It'll come. You can
He's an
send it.
attorney. He's just a great alum. I'll think of it.
And I was
I
reading
can
that
see his face, but
Dr. Wentz liked remember the we?
yeah, remember the we and Wentz. Yeah,
That's great. I
yeah,
think.
isn't that great?
Yeah.
Yeah. I just read an article that they just did an article on him in O State magazine, and in that they did in 1933 there was this war going on between Mr. Wentz and Bill Murray, one of our more corrupt governors. It was such a great piece. It makes me think of what's going on now. It's nothing new. Mr. Wentz despised Murray. I mean, and he was the state highway commissioner. And when Murray was elected governor, he wanted Wentz to resign, and he refused to resign. Murray threatened to call out the state militia and remove him from office. I mean, it's hysterical. It's like, oh my gosh.
Well, I wonder which building was bigger on campus than Murray Hall or Wentz.
Well, our psychology department is in North Murray.
Yeah. It was a mess.
Well, since we're on this a little bit, tell us how you got involved with the Phi Beta Kappa.
Oh, everybody I knew practically was a member of Phi Beta Kappa. And they were always asking me, were you coming to the meeting? We'd be in Tulsa and they'd be having some event. And I'm not a member because OSU. So that made me aware that OSU didn't have Phi Beta Kappa. I wasn't, that never really dawned on me before until, I was out of school. And then here, I knew we'd tried several times. I have a very good friend who was a professor at OSU, and his son was up for the Rhodes Scholar, and we thought he was going to make it. Tommy Knox, I don't know if you remember Tommy or not. He was an unbelievably bright student. That was the year we had a football player do an interview and couldn't speak correct English, and it ruined Tommy's Rhodes chance. It ruined it. I mean, that's exactly why he lost it. It was just bizarre, all the politics involved and all that. And then I just became aware that our students just weren't being given opportunities. I had one of the brighter young people in Wentz went for an interview, and they made a big deal out of the fact that we didn't have a Phi Beta Kappa chapter in this interview for graduate school. It was like, so we need to fix this. This is crazy. So, and I knew we had a lot of professors here who are members of Phi Beta Kappa. I thought, I didn't understand why I didn't know the process or, what was involved or why we hadn't done it or, exactly. But I just thought there's just, maybe it's not a big thing, but it seems to be in some worlds. And so maybe we need to get that fixed.
There are many people that we've talked to that really did not know anything about Phi Beta Kappa. When did you first become aware of Phi Beta Kappa?
Oh, well, my husband went to Baylor. His mother was a graduate of Missouri University. And it seemed like I knew about Phi Beta Kappa for a long time. I mean, I knew it existed. I just didn't think I didn't think we were eligible because we were a land grant or something. I just didn't think in terms of Oklahoma State. But I don't know. I'd known about Phi Beta Kappa for a long time. I can't remember when, It might have been when I was doing all those interviews. I was accepted into a lot of different universities all over the country, and part of that was, they'd talk about the different things you'd be involved in, and I remember them talking about Phi Beta Kappa on some of the campuses, OU being one of them. So, yeah.
So how did you take the plunge to get in to work toward getting it here at OSU?
Well, that was Bob Grallman and the professors. We finally had a group. We had a professor here on campus who was really helping to block us, unfortunately. And I had him when I first came to OSU. I was an honor student, and I took, was it 1X5 chemistry back in the day? He told us first day in class that his intention. He says, "You think you're smart? The honor students sit on the front row. I'm going to flunk all of you out." He did not flunk me out. It made me so damn mad that he said that. I thought, you are not going to. And he's a nice guy. I know him now as an adult. I don't know why he was so anti, and he blocked OSU getting Phi Beta Kappa for years.
Yeah, and he's still here.
Yeah. I don't understand it. I don't understand what he was doing. But I know as a freshman, I hated that man for a long time because I never had anybody who intentionally didn't want you to succeed. You know, most people want you to succeed. It was just weird.
Did the rest of them on the row?
I don't know how it affected the rest of them. And my dad, he said, "Oh man, you are fired up." I said, "Dad, I've never had anybody just say they're going to flunk us. We haven't even turned in a day's work. We may be stupid, but he doesn't know it yet." You know?
And you didn't have any recourse except to
No.
prove him wrong, I guess.
We didn't have any recourse. That's one of the reasons I went home a lot lighter, is because I worked so hard trying to, you know, and I wasn't prepared for his class. And I don't know why we were put into that class. I came from a very small high school, and we had no background. I was having to do high school books. I was having to get everything I could to do okay for his class. I made an A in that class, but it was like by the grace of God. Yeah. And it was hard. It was really hard, because I wasn't ready. We didn't have the background in it that we should have. You know, we weren't ready. That back in the day, honors, you just assume people had all these things. Well, from a small town, you don't necessarily have that. I had a trig class that was awesome, and a lot of kids from Putnam City didn't know anything about trig, but I didn't have a biochemistry class that was as good as what I needed to have to come here. So it was interesting.
So when you got involved with the application, did you do a part of it, or?
You know, I can't even remember. I know we wrote a lot of things, and we did a lot of sponsored. We worked hard on that for a long time, and I can't remember what all we did.
Well, you must have done a lot to become a founding member.
Well, that was nice, very
Yes,
nice. And
yes.
my other guy who helped give to the English chair is a founding member too. So if I get to see that list, it'll come to me. He's such a great guy.
Well, you should.
Oh, you're talking about Perry?
No, not Perry. He's an attorney from Tulsa. He's given so much money to OSU and been so great. He just gave another $1 million here not too long ago.
If you would have given it to me, I would have remembered.
He's awesome. I mean, he really is. He has the best sense of humor. I can't think of his. That's just crazy.
I can see the picture. I mean, there's 6 of you lined up.
He's
And
older.
you're the only female in the
Yeah.
for the founded member.
Yeah, he's older. Oh, shoot. It'll come to me. That's part of chemo brain. You have these short term. Sure, that'll go away. I hope so.
Well,
Dean Stringer?
Yes, Stringer. Dean Stringer.
Stringer.
Yes,
Okay.
Dean Stringer. Yes.
I connect him with Oklahoma City instead of Tulsa. That's why I wasn't.
Well, maybe I'm
getting his
thinking
name.
the wrong city.
He was one of our first interviews.
Okay.
He lives in Oklahoma City, but I think he has had an office in Tulsa too.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
so.
I
that's
had
why.
dinner with him in Tulsa, so I connecting with Tulsa. He's a
Okay.
great guy. Really. And he's funny.
Uh-huh.
He's just got a great sense of humor.
Well, did you go to Florida when they were getting the vote? The vote?
No.
Well, who told you it passed, or how did you learn that it had passed?
I think I found out when everybody else did. Or, I don't know, they called back to us. Or
He also has an email, I think phone calls too.
yeah. I remember getting the call, and it was just so exciting. I got one of the first calls, and it was good to have it finally done. I knew we'd surely get it done this time. If we didn't get it done this time, we were really going to be hurting. The stars were aligned in our favor. So yeah, it was exciting. Are we having good luck recruiting students?
So far?
Good. Good.
Or
Yeah. I've been wanting to be more involved in it, just hosting things to invite people. And there for a while, it is hard to get a tradition going where we do this and this and this. But we finally have a good project. We've had several projects now that'll help us. So.
And did you have a role to play when the team came to campus?
Yeah, they
to do the
interviewed
evaluation?
us, but I honestly, that I don't remember. I remember talking to them, but I don't remember.
we had
Maybe.
to dinner?
Probably for dinner. Probably not anything else. Yeah.
You weren't too stressed then?
No. Used to doing dinner. We can do dinner. Yeah, I know Perry was very involved, and there were a lot of people very involved with the actual interview process. I don't think I did. I think you're right. It was probably just dinner to help entertain them and thank them for being here. And
Answer whatever questions they might have.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, they were pretty nice. They were a very nice group of people, And that was another thing. They didn't seem the least bit intimidating or, silly. They seemed just like regular people.
And do you recall the ceremony they had when the very first?
Oh, yeah, in Old Central. Yeah, and the folding chairs. That was fun. Yeah, it was fun. And we were burning up. I thought, man, I'm not sure this is the best idea. Dean Springer and I, we were sitting there together just going, okay. How long are we going to last? But no, it was good. It was great. It was fun.
Had on the robes.
It had on those heavy robes. It was hot. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I had to escort him to the stage and almost knocked him down.
Yeah, we had a lot of things happen. We were giddy. We
I
were
would have
glad
been in
it
a lot of
happened.
trouble if he would have ended up on the floor.
Yeah.
He was close.
Yeah, it was. But we got it done, by golly. It was fun. We were glad to have it over and done with and I'm just glad it's getting off to a good start. Because it's one thing to get it, but to start as late as we have, then you've got to develop your traditions and all the other stuff that's, really makes it successful. So that's where the hard work comes in. Once we've got it, you got to put in a lot of work doing the projects and recruiting the students, and then making sure it's part of the history and of Oklahoma State. That becomes an important part of what students want to do here.
Well, the main reason that you were involved to begin with was the Wentz.
Probably.
The scholarship aspect, scholar aspect of it.
Mhm.
Is that correct?
Yep, that's correct.
Yeah.
And that was a big selling point.
Now, we had those research scholarships really helped the university. And it helped because nobody else was doing anything like that. And that's amazing that nobody else was doing it. But but it really helped us. So it's helped our students.
So the Wentz, when it became was it money? What the students got? What, $500?
No, $5,000.
$5,000.
$4,000 to start. Yeah, we wanted to make it a substantial award. Now it's $4,500 plus $500 for the department. Now it's $5,000. But I think we started out at $4,000.
And how many would you give out?
Well, the first year, nobody knew what we were doing, so I gave them to everyone that applied. And I think there were 35 applications that first year.
So I believe they had one of the first. I ran into her the other day, and she still remembers it because we did a pig study. And her kids are, of course, now they're adults.
Yeah.
And they used to help us. So you see how long ago it was.
It has been. It's been quite a while. But that first year, I was just determined it was going to be successful. And the board had said, Trish, do what you need to do to make this successful. And so I just gave it to everybody who applied. And that was 35 people. And then after that, we started, and they all did a good job. Professors, we kind of got it off the ground. And then we started having, like this year, we've had 92 applicants. And I think we awarded 36 or 40 students, 40 projects, 190,000, whatever that adds up to.
A little bit more competitive now.
Yes.
A little bit.
Yes, but it's also, it's easier, like the freshman awards, research awards, kind of lead into the wins. So there's a lot the students are, they didn't know what they were doing. This had never been done before, and nobody really knew how to apply for it and how to get ready for it. Now we have more of a structure.
And it's still close to 50%, which in life is, it's pretty good odds.
Yeah, exactly.
Pretty good odds.
Yeah. We try to, and we get some great projects. They're amazing. I love going around the project room and talking to all the students about what they've been doing. We have them present a poster board, and a lot of them do go to the national science, and they give presentations at national meetings, and there's a lot of real benefit to the students out of all this, but to us too.
I can imagine what Mr. Wentz would think if he was.
Oh, he'd be tickled.
He would be.
Yeah. He did not have a college degree. He did not have a high school diploma until later, and he left school at a very young age to help earn money for the family. So he came out here in 19 or something like that. It was to Oklahoma and hit oil. He did not have the personality of a wildcatter at all. He was very much a Methodist boy, very, non-wildcatty. he made a lot of money in the oil business. Was the richest man in Oklahoma for many, many years.
Wow. And he chose to do OSU and OU.
He did 5 institutions, and he was the major benefactor of the Oklahoma Children's Home. He built a lot of things in Oklahoma. The Children's Hospital, the Masonic Lodge down in Guthrie, Oklahoma, has a street named Wentz, and the Masonic Lodges he built. He did, just on and on, lots of things in Ponca, swimming pools and on and on and on. But he didn't like his name on things. And several years ago, OU, the guys on the Wentz board, and this is not a slam at OU, but they had some guys who wanted to, build a statue of Mr. Wentz in Ponca City. And they wanted the OU Foundation, the OSU Foundation, to help pay for it. And OU, they decided that they would help, and then they were putting all kinds of pressure on us. And I said, my thing was, no, we're not going to do that. And because Mr. Wentz, if he wanted to build a statue, he would have built one. He had all the money in the world. He didn't, and so we give an annual scholarship, $4,000, the largest scholarship awarded in Ponca City High School. We give the Wentz Scholarship every year to graduating Ponca City high school student who's coming to Oklahoma State. And it's a 4-year scholarship, $4,000. That's one of the best scholarships given out in the university, and it's by far the best given out in Ponca City, Oklahoma. And that's to honor Mr. Wentz. And I think he would think that was a much better use of his money than a statue.
I know there's a bust of him in the.
Yeah.
I guess it's in the student union now.
Yeah.
It's out outside of our office for a considerable time. But.
He was in many ways a great man, and in some ways a real rascal. He wasn't perfect. So, but thank goodness, and we only got the money by sheer happenstance. Because he went out to West Texas, and when this was after the Depression, and this was in the 1949, he went out there and he bought a huge tract of unproven mineral rights, but he put it in his own name. He'd already switched most of his assets into the Wentz family trust to benefit his nephews, but this was in his name, and he came home and had a heart attack and died, and we got 20% of those unproven mineral rights. If he'd put it into the trust, we would have gotten nothing.
Well, then we might not have had Phi Beta Kappa then.
That's exactly right. It's like, God's little unintended consequences, But he died. 10 years later, they struck oil out there. And, nobody at the time thought that was going to be such a big deal, but it was a very big deal. And we got $14 million out of it. And
the rest is history. It's like it's a wonderful life.
Yeah. Thank goodness. Money's a wonderful thing, especially when it helps students get educated.
Sure.
Yeah. So he's really, we'll be forever grateful. And there's never enough. We just wish we were 10 times bigger, so we can do more. We're one of the few scholarship givers on campus that are undesignated. So I see our job as stepping in, and it may not be this way forever, but I see us really helping the university life for the Phi Beta Kappa in places that we need help, in places that, we can leverage Mr. Wentz's money to do a greater good, and help raise money. And research areas and different things. And then, like right now, we're concentrating heavily on the Honors College. And we've got a housing scholarship. We have a lot of students who maybe get book scholarships or they have tuition, but they don't have anything for housing. So we give $100,000 to help students that don't have any way to pay for adequate housing. And then we do a non-traditional. We have a lot of students on campus who are rearing children and going to school, and I mean, I don't know how they do it, but we give money for that, for non-traditional students. They don't have to have a 4-point or a 3-point grade average. They can have a less of a grade average if they're just doing well, and they have to have people recommend them. But that's always very gratifying. And we give to the Okmulgee. We give $60,000 over there. They're on a trimester, and that's an unbelievably great program. We give to Oklahoma City University. They have a huge number, and I guess we do here on campus too, of DAC students, undocumented kids. Parents have been born here, grew up here, but their parents are undocumented. That's a huge problem. There's no federal aid for those students. And so we're going to have a resolution about that at this next board meeting. We're going to talk about that. I never thought about it being, I guess this political season, a lot of things that I never thought about being even questionable have just kind of jumped into the forefront. It never occurred to me that would even be questioned, that you should help. Any student who's attending Oklahoma State, Mr. Wentz wanted to help. That's his document's very clear. Mm-hmm. But we're going to clarify all that and make sure that we understand that, yes, we can help anyone that's an Oklahoma State University student, anyone.
You'll have to go back to court again?
No, I don't think so. It's because he didn't, no, he was very lenient in his language. He let us just do about anything we wanted to.
So you're the administrator?
Mm-hmm. I'm the first and only that's ever done this. But I've tried to read everything I could about Mr. Wentz and really try to understand what he would have wanted. And he was very conservative, but very, he really loved children. He wanted people to succeed. He would really be your worst enemy if you were dishonest or if you lied to him or if you tried to cheat him. You never met a worse enemy. But except for that, he was a pretty decent guy.
Well, he would fall into the loyal and true category.
He would.
For OSU.
He would.
Yes.
He certainly would, yeah.
It's also one of the few scholarships where students in the humanities can get money.
That's right. And we try to help the humanities. We really try to boost that because we used to be the only scholarship for the band. We gave $40,000 a year for the band. There was no money to help the marching band. So now we have money. But now with the new performing arts centers, they're going to need a lot more scholarships in that area to attract quality students to what's going to be an extremely high quality facility. And so, but that's the great thing about Wentz is needs of the university change, and we can help fill gaps and hopefully get funding from other places, and then we move on to help do something else.
It's a lot of connecting the dots.
Yeah.
It seems.
I hope we're going to see a study soon that shows, where we are lacking. Humanities is lacking in scholarship money, but we're lacking in quite a few areas. So
social science compared to the natural sciences.
Right. Yeah. And so we try to help in those areas specific. But now by doing all this with the Honors College and with some of the other areas, I'm thinking that helps target filling some of those gaps because we have a lot of leadership scholarships and non-traditional, and so we're trying to fill in a lot of areas. But I'm not sure it's as efficient as it could be to make sure we hit the right pools of people.
There's a lot to keep up with.
It is. But we have a lot of people who really try. One thing that's difficult about Oklahoma State is our scholarship giving is fragmented. It's not like you come through this one funnel we come down and the bursar says all these people need money. Each department has they have scholarship money. The foundation has scholarship money. It's very fragmented, trying to get a handle on exactly where the need is. Mm. Yeah, I wish we would streamline it. I really wish all the departments would centralize their, but they don't want to do that.
Well, when you were applying for them way back, then
Mhm.
how did you learn of the various ones?
You know, we had a high school guidance counselor who helped us, but I'm sure we missed 90% of them. You know, yeah. But the college relations people are really important to Oklahoma State and recruiting kids. And then back in the day, and I think we still do it, you had the valedictorian scholarship in Oklahoma State. Your freshman year gave you a free ride if you were a valedictorian.
And that's what you, for years, okay.
Mm-hmm. And then your scholarship money could go for books and housing. And so your first year, if you're really a good student, is not really that tough. But it's, boy, after that, a lot of those scholarships fall off. You know, and you got to have money. I know a lot of kids who can't finish because they'll get to a place where they, without going into a lot of debt, they just really can't manage it.
Well, the $4,000 one that the Ponca City student gets, is that each year?
Every year for 4 years.
Each
It's
of
a
the 4 years.
$16,000 scholarship. And it really does help them. So, and, you know, Ponca City, that's another thing we have to think about. Ponca City is shrinking with Continental moving, and I don't know how long that's going to be a viable scholarship. You get to a point where if you shrink the class to, you know, what we are in Scheidler, I'm not sure that's appropriate. So we may need to revisit that. But he loved Ponca City. That was his, you know, adopted hometown, and so we thought that was a good way to honor him.
And you don't think he would have minded having his name on the endowed professorship?
No, he wouldn't have. He wrote beautiful letters. He was, and he was self-taught. And he studied a lot. He did a lot of work. He taught himself geology, and he did a lot of hard work to get where he was, and a lot of it. And he would be the first to say a lot of it was just good luck. He just happened to be in the right place at the right time.
Yeah, a little bit of that for you, but not as much.
Yeah, well,
You worked really hard too.
I wish I could have hit oil. That would have been awesome.
Well, you're talented at math. That's just as good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, people are always asking me if I'm part Indian, and I'm like, because I have this nose, but I'm saying, you know, unfortunately not. I grew up in Osage County, where I wish I'd been an Osage Indian. But no, unfortunately, I was not. So, yeah, wealthy Indian tribe. Yeah. That's interesting when that'd be an interesting oral history too, the Osage Indian Nation, to interview those guys. It's fascinating.
It would be.
Yeah.
You are fascinating too, I think so. And great sense of humor. That's always a positive.
That helps. Yeah. This last year's been. I have no history of cancer in our family, so I was diagnosed with cancer, and it was undetected. Even the breast surgeon said I wouldn't have known it was there either. And so we had cancer, and then my husband broke his C1 vertebrae on his neck, riding, and that is the vertebrae that will stop your breathing. If you don't die from it, he wasn't paralyzed. I mean, we just feel so grateful that we're both alive and recovering, and we have a lot to be grateful for. Yeah, a lot. So.
Do you want to tell any more about that process? About
Oh, you
what
mean the
you've been-
cancer
what
business?
you've been
Oh,
undergoing or not?
I tell you what, I will never take good health for granted again, ever. I've probably been sick 5 days of my whole life. And, well, except after the second grade when I was sick all the time, and then never got sick again. I built up my immune system, you know. But, yeah, I don't know. You just take good health for granted, and I have great sympathy now for anyone who's going through this. And it's different for everyone, but I will be there to help whoever's going through this. Yeah. And my big advice is don't smoke ever. What are these kids thinking I walked across campus and I saw 2 or 3 kids with cigarettes, and what are you thinking? That's the absolute, they tell you right off the bat, your chances of surviving cancer go down precipitously if you smoked. If you're overweight, take another downturn. It's just, and it's tough getting through chemo and radiation and on and on and on. You got to be tough, mentally and physically.
Well, how far into this are we?
I'm through with surgery and I'm through with chemo. Well, I'm still taking one chemo, but I'm through with most of it. Radiation, I've got 1 more week. and then I'm done.
Yay.
Yeah, I'll be so glad. I'm getting hair back. That's good. But I'll be glad when I get eyebrows and eyelashes and those things back.
But very stylish. You're
Yeah. It's just
You may not want it much longer.
it's very vogue. If I was a lot younger, it'd be voguer. But you know what? I'm just grateful. I'm just grateful it's going to be over. And I'm grateful we have great physicians and we've come so far in medicine. And, it's really amazing the strides we've made in the last not so many years. So, but.
And you may not be sitting here if it hadn't been for that Uncle Charlie.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't be. My Uncle Charlie's awesome. He's in a nursing home now in Ponca City, and I just love him to death. He's my favorite person in the world. Came here on the GI Bill, got his master's, and then he went to PhD in Louisiana, worked on his PhD down there. And just an awesome guy, just amazing.
What was his major while he was here?
Electrical engineering.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he went to work for Continental. But he was in the Navy in World War II, worked on a submarine. And because he was on that submarine in very confined quarters, and they'd be under for long, long periods of time, RCA hired him to help build the first Alaska pipeline. And that was in the day when the guys that were building the pipeline lived underground. It was very primitive and nothing like what you see now, the beautiful glass living quarters. Oh, heavens, no, they lived. And he was hired to help keep people from going stir crazy building that pipeline. Yeah, it was really interesting, his work. Yeah. But he was that, and they paid him extremely well. So he was a happy man. He got to earn a lot of money. He couldn't spend it because you couldn't go anywhere.
I was trying to do the math about how old would he be now?
Well, Charlie, he's in his 80s.
In his 80s.
Let's see, he would be he would be born in 1925. My mom was in 15. He was 10 years younger, so 25. So 75, 85, 92. Is that right? He can't be that old. 92?
Yeah.
About 92. Yeah, he's one of the last World War II veterans. And just sharp as he can be, but he's physically failing. He's just...
And he would have gotten his degree from here in the 40s?
Oh.
If he was a World War...
Yeah, I was a little kid. No, it'd been in the 50s, probably. Because he worked for RCA there in between, too. I was a little kid and would come up here and stay with him, so it had to be in the 50s.
Well, did Uncle Charlie marry or have
children?
children?
Yes,
He'd had
married.
children.
My Aunt Susan has 2 children. Yeah, neither one of them went to Oklahoma State.
That was my next question.
Neither one of them. Then they live. One of my cousins lives on the East Coast and works for Amtrak. It's some kind of engineer for them in computers. And then my cousin is a teacher at Oklahoma City, special education teacher. And I'm trying to think where she got her degree, but it wasn't from Oklahoma State, I remember. So, yeah. So I'm his OSU graduate.
I'm sure he's quite proud.
Yeah, he's proud. He is. He and I are very close. Yeah.
And there was another chair we were going to talk about. Did you had help doing the Henry Bellman chair?
Yes. Yeah.
Which I guess I'm assuming that contributed to the
Wentz. It did, and Mr. Henry Bellman was just amazing. He was such a great supporter of Oklahoma State and students, and did Bob tell you about him driving over here to lunch, and he's just a pretty amazing guy. But yeah, and that did help, and he was very pro. Bob knew him so well. Very pro OSU and anything we could do to get our students. Mm-hmm. And then we named the chair for, named the department, the Scholar Development Office, renamed it for him. So. And
he was still living when they did that?
Right.
So he was okay with that too?
Yeah.
He didn't like his name on things?
No, he didn't.
Either,
but he was proud of that. Oh. So I think, Oklahoma State has a lot to be proud of. And I like it that we don't, we have some people who like their names all over everything, but most people don't. Most people are quieter.
Being humble.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I like the fact that we're a land-grant institution like Kansas State and so many great institutions, and we have our purpose is a kind of a greater good purpose. So I like that.
So you've been helping what, since the 80s, 90s?
Oh gosh, I don't know. It's
When
been a
did you
long time.
when did you become the
You know, that's a
the
good
Wentz?
question. I was thinking about that the other day. It's been a long time. I don't know. It's probably been 20 years, 25, 30 years. Bob said he thought it was more like 30 years. But I really, honestly don't remember. And that's crazy. I don't know when
Time flies when you're having fun.
I just don't know. It's been a long time.
We need to find out and see if there's an anniversary coming up.
Yeah,
sometime.
there might be. A lot of presidents have passed since then. I was trying to think who's the first president I worked with. You know, that was back, Frankie, and it wasn't Dr. Comm. He wasn't, it was after Dr. Comm, it was Boger, I think was the first president I worked with. That's been a long time.
Don't hear that name very often. I moved here in '96, so some of these names
Yeah.
I'm not real familiar with
Yeah.
either. But
That's been a long time. So we've been doing this, and we only have 4 board members, and they're board members for life. You know, as long as they want to be on the board, they're going to be on the board. So
well, how long does it take you to go through all of these? Especially if there's so many, like 90 something. How long does it take you to go through all the applications?
I don't necessarily. I do go through the research applications. I have, but now we've changed that process. We used to have just 5 professors, and we'd read all the reports, and but now they've redesigned it so that we have committees from each of the colleges, and then we hone it down to the departments, and all those applications pass through that department, because research in one department is not necessarily the same as research in another. So
Right.
then they hone it down, and it seems like we have a more thorough process of making sure we don't miss any applicants. So this is only the second or third year we've done it. Maybe this is the second year. I think we're getting ready to do the third year of this. So, but I think it's working really well. Seems like the departments are doing a great job. So I'll review that and we'll see what we think. I used to, we had such a shaky beginning. I was really nervous about, I wanted to be very fair, make sure we got everybody covered, that we weren't shorting some department, that something wasn't being overlooked just because it didn't look like research to another guy that were test tubes was research. It might not be the same over here in the library.
Mm-hmm.
So, but we seem to have gotten to a point where we can get around all that.
And pretty much balanced male, female? Or have you checked?
We don't even try.
Don't even try.
Because we do a blind selection. We don't look at names. We don't look at grade point. I mean, we do look at grade points. You got to be qualified, but it's a blind selection
Okay.
to start. So we try to just make sure that they're qualified projects and that they have a sponsor who's really going to help them carry through.
And some of those people that have gotten the Wentz went on to get, like, the roads.
Oh,
and
a
all
lot of
these
them.
Other.
Gold Waters, we've had a lot of people go on and get bigger awards, and it's really helped when they go to apply to graduate school. It's really helped a lot.
So what's next?
For me, I have no idea. But I do want to start taking life a little easier. Cancer has kind of made me think, I don't know what that means, though. I enjoy what I do. I love what I do. But I think Jake and I will spend a little bit more time making sure that we don't miss the time we have together, and that, we take a few deeper breaths than we have in the past. We've always both been so busy and active that it's, not busy work, but still, life does fly by. Mm-hmm. And if you don't just make sure that you enjoy every minute of it.
Well, you still have a business.
Oh, I do. I have 2 businesses, and that mainly because Oklahoma law requires they be 2 separate businesses. But
So that's at 8 to 5, or?
no, not while I've had cancer. I've been working about half days, and I have to get more rest than I ever had in my life. I'm sure that'll change. But I have, let's see, how many employees do we have now? I think I've got 9 employees, and they need mentoring and, helping, and they're great kids, all of them. So I'm trying to get them, where they've done an awesome job while I've been half there, But even then, my chargeable hours are a lot more than just about anybody else. So just like, I I just know, I have a work ethic that's kind of amazing. Even as I look back on it, I'm thinking, really? But I enjoy what I do. I really enjoy it.
Who do you think you got that from? Your mother or your dad?
Both.
Both?
Yeah, my mom and dad were both hard workers, and my granddad was, but my mom was really, she didn't have a college education, but she was an amazing woman. She was really amazing. She read us Dickens as bedtime stories when we were kids. We knew more about, you know, when we were growing up, we'd quote something out of Charles Dickens, and people would look at us like, and we thought everybody had this read to them at bedtime. Yeah, Tale of Two Cities and all. I mean, honestly, but she was great.
Was she the one that introduced you to opera?
No, my dad and mother both loved opera, but my dad introduced me to opera. Yeah, they both loved opera.
You just don't think that that goes with being an oil field worker?
No,
that you would like opera.
no, I just love opera. I'll be so glad when we start having this new performing arts center here. I used to have season tickets to the Tulsa Opera, and it's just got to be where, you know, it's when you're busy, it's just too much.
An hour over and an hour back.
Yeah, I would just be worn out, you know, by, and so I just enjoy making it an event, you know, dinner and friends, and so you need to spend the night, and, you know, then I love the Polo Grill over there makes a really great, you know, they have an opera dinner after, they really try to make it special, so I love doing all that. It was fun. And I have a lot of friends here who love to do that. You know, Nigel Jones loves opera, and we've got all kinds of people here who love opera. But I just got where, when Bill got so sick, and after he passed away, and then I was, you know, busy with the firm, I just couldn't do it all. So.
Well, like an opera, are you musical? Do you play the piano or?
No, I took music lessons and all that, but no, I just love. I'm the great listener.
Can you carry a tune?
Probably not. No, I'm a great audience member. I'm not a performer. I would say that, but yeah.
Do you know the alma mater?
Yes, I do.
You know it?
I sure do. Yeah. I wish we'd. You know what? I was telling Barry. I think one of the things we should do is we need a new alma mater. We need a new. That doesn't quite fit Oklahoma State University, I always think. I've thought that since I was a student here, though. So,
Well, they could have a competition.
yeah, I think we should write a new school song or fight. You know, do some new things. Make that part of the curriculum.
It's not like we don't have some musicians in the.
Yeah,
And
we have
the
some
pool,
great
yes.
musicians. We could do that, I think, if we put our minds to it.
All right, that's next on your list.
Yeah,
Then.
I wish we would. I think it'd be cool.
I would ask you to sing it, but if you can't carry a tune, I
No.
won't.
No. No, don't ask me to sing it. I did sing in a church choir for many years. I think people suffered through that, so I'm not good at that. So,
Well, do you have looking back over your college career here at OSU, do you have a favorite moment or two?
you know, I had a English professor's honors English. I'm trying, you know, really, that is sad about this chemo stuff. She was a fabulous professor, and I always enjoy remembering her classes. And then she invited me out to her house one day, a bunch of students, and that was so nice. Really enjoyed that. She died. She went home for lunch one day, and I was no longer her student, but we were friends, and she went home. She choked to death. She's one of those freak accidents where she inhaled incorrectly, and she choked to death. That was sad, but she was a great professor. She was really great. So, you know, you remember the really good professors. Bill Houston was an awesome professor. He was, you know, teaching as an art, and he was good at it.
What was his subject? English?
Accounting.
Accounting.
And he could make very difficult subjects. He could teach so well. And everybody loved him to go to his classes. And he didn't give easy A's. He was tougher than a boot. But everybody loved his classes, you know, because he taught so well. But, yeah, I remember the really good professors. They're really, you know, it wasn't And I just love the campus. I love our architecture. I love the 18th century architecture.
Well, that was my next question. Do you have a favorite spot?
Yeah.
Did you have one then, and do you have one now?
Well, now I just love the campus. It's just beautiful. I just really love it, what we've done and what we're going to do. Really, I didn't particularly have a favorite spot then. I don't really have one now. I just like the overall look. I hate it that we put the student union garage where we did. I think that's the only thing we've ever done that's just miserable. I don't think it should be there. It just blocks a beautiful view of the library, and and I always remember, and I just thought used to think the front of the student union where you have the staircases that go up to the second floor, that's so graceful and pretty. And now that we have the beautiful flower gardens out front, Burns and Ann have done so much.
They have.
To make this campus so much prettier. And it's not that it didn't have the basic bones to make it beautiful, but they just made the concerted effort to not let it be ugly.
And the 3 topiaries, or at least the 3 I can think of. There may be more,
Yeah.
but I know of 3.
And it's just beautiful. We've got so many talented people, and their talents have not been utilized. I love the botanical gardens. Those are wonderful. There's just a lot of things on campus we have to be proud of. Yeah. And a lot of things have changed. Ugly built Hanner Hall, thank goodness that came down. That was ugly. We have taken down some of the ugliest buildings. And Wentz wasn't pretty. It was poorly built. And, when you look at the rest of campus, it's kind of like when you go to Russia and you see the Stalingrad buildings. St. Petersburg's gorgeous, and then you have what happened during Stalin's time, and you think, how could people live with that when they've been used to this? How could they have let that happen? So you just wonder. So Nigel Jones, bless his heart, he's got a big job to keep the architecture,
Consistent.
He's done a great job.
Did he have any say in the business building?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all got to go through him. And, it's not, Nigel's not anti-modern. He just wants it to, be consistent and blend and look good. So, yeah. That's going to look good. He didn't let them do what they wanted to. It's going to look good. It's going to blend.
Big.
It's going to be huge. Yeah. But it is going to look good. It's not going to be it's not going to be massive up. It's going to blend in. And I think it's going to really be cool looking when they
And
get
the bricks
it done.
going up and it matches, so
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, yeah. Making sure all that, But thank goodness we have somebody doing that.
Yes.
And I thought that was brilliant to get that done. So,
You've seen a lot of changes here at OSU.
yeah, and change can be for the good or the bad, and it could have gone the other way, and thank goodness it didn't. And thank goodness we had a president come in that had really good taste, and also knew, had been to places where you see it looked polished. And we'd never had anybody really try to keep the grounds and just make it what it could be. So it's not that we didn't have the talent or the ability, we just never had anybody who cared.
And we've had some good donors
Yeah.
lately
To
that
help,
care too.
stepped up and helped. Yeah, it's great. Money's wonderful. It really is. Helps get a lot of things done.
It's good, including scholarships. So
Including
that's
scholarships and talented people. And we've had a lot of very talented people give back. A lot of awesome students and graduates give back.
Well, I know you don't have a need to put out Vitas anymore, but if you did, you would include Phi Beta Kappa honorary member? Or not?
Honorary member, but I was never an original member, so I don't really feel,
Okay.
Yeah. But honorary, trying to keep it, get it going. Yeah, I'm glad we did that. And I'm proud to be an honorary member and happy. I like the group. I like Charles, and they're a great group. So
How did they recognize you for that? Were you?
Oh,
part
we
of
were
it?
all given our, I have a wonderful plaque and a, frame with the Phi Beta Kappa, all that. I've got all that at home. And a medal. I've got a medal, which is wonderful. Yeah.
And the only female of that, at least for the founding members.
Right.
Yeah. So you represented us well.
Yeah. Yeah, we were, and they're a great group. It's really the most fun people on campus. We got lots of smart people on this campus. And they're fun because they're smart. They travel a lot, and they're interested in a lot of things. They're interested in the world and politics, and so I love to get together with them. It's fun to talk to them and to see what's going on and what they're thinking.
Well, do you have a current role with Phi Beta Kappa?
No.
Just through the Wentz?
No, I'll tell you, Perry, we've kind of struggled. Bob is taking a greater role now that he's retired. We're going to try to do more social events for the group, and so I'll probably do more. And this last year I've been really ill, but I think we'll start doing more because I do think it's important to get some social things going so that we, people want to get together, they know each other, that sort of thing.
I think part of the issue they've had is getting students aware
Right.
of the value
Right.
of being
Phi Beta Kappa. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. It's new.
It's new.
Yeah.
2011, 2012, something. It's not. I mean,
It's really new. So it's going to take us a while to get everybody really going on, and we really haven't pushed it real hard. All of us have been so busy with a lot of other things, but we need to push it a little bit more to get it really up and going and part of the fabric of OSU life, where it's an important part.
Mm-hmm.
That's difficult sometimes. It's kind of like when we did Oklahoma Women for OSU. That could easily have disappeared into the woodwork. But now I think it's such an important part of OSU. We've worked really hard to make it. It contributes in scholarship money. And it's something people want to belong to, which is important.
And you were chair of that for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun. I love that. It's a fun group. Lot of great women at OSU. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know much about that particular program. Do you want to talk about it anymore?
Oh, it's a great program. I think we ought to do an oral history on it. It started out as Women in Philanthropy. It's now dramatically different from how it started.
How long ago did it?
Women in Philanthropy, Pat Canal would know.
At least 10 years then.
Oh, yeah, at least 10 years. But it has evolved, and rightfully so. And now we give out scholarships to deserving young ladies, and we have an annual event. It's a huge speaking event. Last year, Laura Bush talked. And I can't remember our speaker this year, but she's going to be awesome too.
Joan London.
Joan London, that's right. Is going to be our speaker this year. I'm sure it'll sell out again. But it's just a really fun group of people. It raises women's awareness on campus. It's to be a part of the board. It's a 40-member board. You have had to have given at least $50,000 to the university, I think. It's partly. And I want us to have a T-shirt that says, "Real Cowgirls Write Checks." I didn't go over so great, but it's true. Women have a lot. We have a lot to say about how money's spent in our families, and a lot to say about how the world needs to go. So I think it's important that women be involved in philanthropy. We've got some awesome women on that board that have just. You ought to interview that group. They are amazing.
Add that to the list, yes.
They are amazing. Amazing group of women, and how they got to in there, how they started giving to Oklahoma State and what they've done with their life. We've got some engineers and bank officials that have done so well. We've got great people, ranchers, women who've helped run big ranches, big oil companies. It's amazing. So, yeah.
And you get to rub elbows with
Yeah, I
all
love
of
them all. And they're just a fun group of women. That's, it's awesome. The thing you get into with women in philanthropy, I know when I was asking some of the women that are now members of the board if they wanted to be members, you always run into some of the, I don't know how to say this politically, the foundation doesn't necessarily want to channel that money somewhere away from their husband's main giving. It's interesting. You kind of have, there's politics in all foundations and how you gift and so forth. And I asked some of the members and they love it. The women love it. But the foundation really didn't want the women to be involved in it so much because they were afraid it would dilute their other giving. And now they don't feel that way. But when we originally did it, I didn't realize I was stepping on toes by asking a couple of the gals that, which would have been rude not to ask them. They certainly were qualified, and they're fun people, and they love it. So it's just, I don't know, it's strange. University politics just drives me crazy. That's the great thing about Lou Wentz. We don't have to be worried about it.
And all that's from one paragraph on a piece of paper?
I know, it's fabulous. Didn't he do us the biggest favor ever? Amazing. I think he'd be proud of how we spend his money and his time, and we try to be good stewards. Our board is very, we have a Ponca City businessman. We have an alum, a member who represents the Alumni Association. Mr. Wentz's original banker was, I think it was Exchange Bank of Oklahoma, but it's now Bank of Oklahoma. So it's the chairman of the board. Well, we're lucky enough to get the head of the whole deal, to be on our board, and then the president of the university. So it's only a 4-member board, and they do an awesome job.
And you're in charge.
Well, I work for them. They're in charge.
Okay, that's okay. I get
But yeah, they, and I, when I think about getting a successor for this job, is really, it's a unique job. I don't know, and I worry about it. Who am I going to, seek out? It needs to be somebody in Stillwater that's involved with the university that is independent. You need to have an independent set of mind, because we've gone through a lot of presidents, and there's presidents who'll want money to do special projects that wouldn't serve Wentz well or the university well over the long run. You kind of have to have a long view.
And you'll say no. You said no.
Oh, I've said no a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been threatened with lawsuits. Yeah.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's interesting.
Well, will that decision be yours to make?
Oh, the board will make it, but
You can recommend.
I'm their front person who kind of, and we're so fortunate with Burns, and his interests are long view interests, and so he's been a great president, great to work with. And we try to recognize needs, but you never know when you're going to get somebody who's going to want to take a short view and raid the fund or, do something really dumb that'll hurt students in the future. We have to think about not only students now, but how are we going to serve them in the future?
Forward.
Because we can't afford to deplete our resources now, and then a kid 5 years from now doesn't have any help. That's not going to do the university any good. It also doesn't do any good for us to underspend. It's a real fine line. We don't want to underspend now either, so we want to keep a even keel on what we're doing. And we have investment policies and spending policies, and we try to make sure they're reasonable. And it's just, we're always walking this fine line. There's never enough money, but you don't want to overspend either.
Yeah, maybe it's time to pull in someone that you're going to vet.
Yeah.
Let me just start.
Yeah. It's going to take me, I don't know. I really don't know. I've really searched and thought long and hard about this. There's going to have to be somebody. It can't be connected with the university. It has to be independent.
And they need a good math and accounting background.
Yeah, they need to have judgment. It'd be nice if they run a business or had some kind of experience. They need to be able to think on their feet, because you're dealing with a lot of guys who are used to making big decisions, and they don't like their time wasted. So you've got to be able to, be succinct and get the facts to them, and they can make quick decisions, and they just want you to do your job. But it needs to be somebody who's not going to be manipulated and isn't going to be involved in politics, doesn't care or shouldn't care, I mean, there's a lot. You got to keep the students' best interests at heart. So, but this is true for every board position. Every one of, there's only 5 of us, so it's kind of, I don't know. I've really searched long and hard in my heart and mind on what am I going to do? Because the board, of course, would like me to be thinking in terms of, I don't intend to retire anytime soon, but if something were to happen to me, we need to have something, a game plan.
At least a 5-year plan.
Yeah.
At least.
Yeah. And now after this, it's made me think, well, yeah, I might not be indestructible.
I don't know.
So I'm trying to think in terms of, okay, successor. And I honestly don't have anybody in mind. I honestly don't. I can't.
Yeah, it needs to be someone I would think that could do 15 or 20 years.
It does.
So
Yeah, it's a long-term game plan, and you got to be kind of calm and steady and take it. Bob Grawn would be awesome, but Bob's older than I am, and so our board members serve up until their 70s and 80s, and if they want to, and they do, they love doing this. but I don't know. It's difficult.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you can't come to the library and
Yeah, I
research
can't do
that
my
one.
research on
Click that one.
who would be good at this, you know. It needs to be somebody who's pretty much apolitical, who just isn't going to get involved. And that's tough in a university town, to stay out of the politics.
Yes.
This position is not one to be, it's kind of a sacred position. You don't use it for personal gain or personal anything. You use it for the good of the university and the good of the students. And you never can lose sight of that, because there's a lot of opportunities to lose sight of that if you're not careful. So that's my dilemma. Yeah, that's my biggest dilemma, is helping to get somebody who's lined up to take my place.
Well, the university and the Wentz in general has been lucky to
I
have you.
love this university, and I love the state of Oklahoma. And I just think I think Oklahoma State's awesome. But I think I would not have been anything in life if I hadn't come here to get an education, and hadn't been given some great opportunities. That English professor was just the most amazing woman. I've just had a lot of good people in my life.
Well, and if you had chosen engineering instead of accounting,
Yeah,
it could have been a whole different
world.
story, too.
Yeah, yeah. And I placed very high in the math test, when I did all that. And so I knew I just wanted to be able to make money, and I knew I was good at math. And so that's, that decision process. I don't know if everybody else is so cold-hearted about it, but
It looks good for the library that you came and used
Yeah.
a resource
Yeah.
here that has had that trickle effect on.
Yeah. And I spent a lot of time in this library. I love this library. Yeah. Roscoe Rouse used to be a neighbor of mine.
Okay.
And, he's a graduate of Baylor, and Bill knew him at Baylor. So it was a lot of connections. Yeah. It's interesting. Life is really just, is just, everyone seems to be connected in some way to somebody, and that's the great thing and that's another great thing about Oklahoma State. If I get a call from somebody that they want to know, somebody in Timbuktu, you make 3 phone calls, and somebody doesn't even know this person will call out, reach out to them and help them. It's wonderful that, that people want and are willing to help each other. If they possibly can, they want to help.
Yeah, they're loyal to the
Yeah.
university, and we keep asking that question, why? What's the root of that? Why are people so?
I think one of
loyal
it's
to-
the way we were reared. I really
think?
do. I think a lot of it's just Oklahoma, rural America. I think it's not any different here from Kansas State, from just any rural community. You got to help each other. Yeah, and you're not. I think when you grow up in a small community, you see flaws of people up close and personal, and it's not like people change. Things happen. It's not like it's a sentence for life that you're going to be X. You can change. You can do other things. And the fact that your dad was a bum doesn't mean you're going to be a bum. That kind of thing. So I think it just mentally, people are healthier sometimes, and sometimes not. Depends on the community, but sometimes you're just healthier growing up in a community where everybody knows you got warts, and that's okay.
Well, it may help that you stay in the same community for a longer period of time,
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
And you learn all those things.
Yeah. And some communities are just better than others about being inclusive, and some classes are better, and some, I don't know, and some people are just better at it. I think that's been so interesting about this election cycle, the trying to, it just has been, I love this country too, and I think we can, and you look back in history, we've had some really bad presidents. We just didn't have modern, news media and technology.
Right.
We didn't know about it, but we've
Right.
had some really bad presidents. And I know we can survive anything we'll survive this no matter what, and no matter who's elected, no matter which side, we're going to survive this. But it's been a very interesting election cycle.
Very, yes.
Yeah, I think the Republican Party, and I'm a Republican, but oh my gosh, but we're really going to have to rethink our whole platform and everything that and not let crazy people get in charge of and run the party. That's just when we got it. Donald Trump didn't push us there. We really got off base several cycles back, and so we need to rethink. There were some people are predicting this will be the end of the Republican Party. I doubt it, but could be. If it is, it is. I mean, we will change and evolve, and something else will come up and it'll be better. So
I would love to know what Henry Bellman would think
I do it too.
about all of this.
Oh, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my. Well, I think the biggest thing it points out is how the power of media to control people's minds and thoughts. I mean, Hillary Clinton would not be electable in any other year but this year. She'll be elected because of who we're running against her. If she gets elected, that's why. But any other year, all this Benghazi stuff, she wouldn't be electable. But, man, what have we done? It's crazy.
I hate for that to be the tarnish on the first woman.
I do too.
You know.
I do too. I really do. I mean, it's awful. But, yeah. But you know what? We will survive it.
So you run next time.
I don't have the stomach for what those people have to go through. I don't know how I don't know how Hillary's done it all these years and, gotten to the position she's in. She's had to do a lot of things that most of us wouldn't have the stomach for. And also the grit. She's been through a lot. You look back on her history and life, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, honey. Yeah. So it's going to be interesting year. I think we're going to see the first woman president, and I do think you're right. It's a shame that it's going to be kind of a tarnish. But you know what? I just pray she'll step up and do the most fabulous job ever. And and a lot of this stuff, the pay to play and all that won't be true. I hope it's not. And we'll get through this, and it'll be awesome. And the other thing is Congress is checks and balances, so, it's not like she can just run away with it. And he can't either.
And 4 years and move
right.
on.
We'll see. We'll move on. And hopefully by then we'll have some Republican recovery in our really bad thinking process. Really bad. Oh. So yeah. I'm astounded. Aren't you when you listen to the debates? I'm just astounded. It's
I am, yes.
I sit there going,
I've watched more of it this year than I can ever remember.
yeah, it's
And
amazing.
I'm really tired of it. I think it's been going on too long.
Yeah. Don't you know Ohio is sick of it? How many billion, they talked about that this morning on, and those poor people were talking about, they start getting phone calls at 7 a.m. in the morning, people knocking on their door, it's just horrible. It's just, they're ready to become, they don't want to be a battleground state. They're sick of it. Yeah, they are really sick of it. But it comes with having all that population. I really try to understand how the Electoral College works. It's not simple either. It's tough. I don't really, it doesn't seem like it's as streamlined or as like it should be. But, that's one thing I love about America, though. It works, warts and all,
Well, and if it doesn't, there's a process to change it.
Yeah. It does worry me, all the people who have, are involved in this conspiracy theory that I guess that's always been there, though. That's nothing new. There's always people who think the system's rigged or there's always going to be somebody who thinks, there's some secret alien person out there. I don't know. And did you ever see Mel Gibson in The Conspiracy Theory? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a conspiracy. I love that. That's why I'm always telling people, you just got to allow for the fact that you might be wrong. It's just, you might be. We don't want to be, but we might be. Oh, I don't know. So, do you have anything else you need to ask me, my
I'm just
dear?
thinking you've got a good sense of humor. Who did you get that from?
Both my mom and my dad had a great sense of humor.
Both of them?
Yeah, my granddad Cole was great.
In Jerry's interview, you had talked about the Diamonds in the Rough. Do you know if that program?
Oh, that's the non-traditional students.
Is it still?
We still have the non-traditional, but we're merging it because now the way we award scholarships, we catch now we're going to make sure that we don't lose sight of that. But I was just talking to the foundation the other day, yesterday as a matter of fact. It seems to me that 2 of our other scholarship categories might cover that. Now, I just want to make absolutely sure, but that's the non-traditional students.
Well, is it still called that, or do they call
No.
it something else?
Non-traditional is what we call it. Let's see.
Well, Martha McMillan's
Martha.
she retired, so. I
Right.
figured
Martha
they might have
was in
changed it.
charge of that, but now the bursar's office goes through and helps identify those students. But I think we've got other ways of identifying and moving into another category. I'm not positive. I just want to make sure. See, the way OSU awards money is disjointed. We have too many pockets of money, instead of this is our overall giving. Now we have to have designations are great, but we have too many hidden pockets that are, like slush fund money almost, and so it makes it hard to know if you're really reaching the people that need to be reached. And all that, there's still kids that get overlooked, and I'm like, maybe there's a more efficient way of making sure that we don't overlook somebody. President Harkins has had people show up in his office, they're going to have to drop out of school because they can't pay for their books. And they're not crying wolf, that's the truth. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, that shouldn't happen.
No, there's probably some that's gotten 2 or 3 that.
Yeah, we try never to over-award.
Mm-hmm.
We don't want to have some kid walking away with money in their pocket. But then we don't want to have some really good student maybe trying to support 3 kids who's maybe got a C and a half or C average, just needs help. They need to get through school. That degree is going to mean more to them than it's going to mean to,
Or as much anyway.
or at least as much. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we don't want that kid being overlooked, that young man or woman, or it may be older man or woman. So it's tough. It's always hard to know how to do. It's not just numbers. They're all people. And I just want to make sure we don't overlook that, that we're not missing somebody. So I just feel like we're still not there, but we're doing better.
Well, you've done great, I think.
Well, we try. We try.
I mean, you've done a lot for students and for OSU and for the state and on
Well,
out,
and
so.
you know what? That's what's wonderful about Oklahoma State. This university helps this state. And I think I listened to a speech Burns gave the other day, and it's true that education just elevates the general population. And the more people we can get educated, and I believe it's true that women who are educated elevate even to an even greater degree because they're in charge of families and they're in charge of a lot of other things. But I just think our land grant mission at Oklahoma State is awesome, and it is meaningful. It's meaningful to us, and it's meaningful to the people we really help. And I think we all take it to heart. We have a duty to give back and to help. So it's not just about me, 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 me. Or as Wentz said, we. It's all about that. I love that.
I think that's a good way to end, don't you?
Yeah, it's a good way.
Well, thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us.
Thank you.
It's been great.
Thank you for having us. I didn't realize I was going to talk so much, but it's been fun.
You're great.